Welcome back to another deep dive into gaming's darkest mythologies. Today, we journey into the twisted world of fear and hunger to explore one of its most enigmatic and terrifying figures, Rher, the Trickster Moon God. Over the next few hours, we'll uncover the ancient mythology surrounding this jealous deity, his role in humanity's struggle for godhood, and the profound impact he has on the events of both fear and Hunger Games. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's begin this epic adventure into one of gaming's most disturbing and fascinating cosmic entities. To understand Rher and his place in the cosmic hierarchy of fear and hunger, we must first explore the fundamental structure of divinity in this world. The universe of fear and hunger operates on a complex theological system where gods are divided into distinct categories: the old gods, the new gods, and the ascended gods. Each category represents different eras of divine power and different relationships with humanity itself. The old gods are the primordial beings, ancient entities that existed long before the dawn of human civilization. These are the creators and destroyers of the world, beings of such immense power that they shaped reality itself according to their whims and nature. Among these old gods, we find figures like Grogoroth, the god of destruction and human sacrifice, and Sylvian, the goddess of love and fertility, who created mankind. There's also their offspring, Venushka, the volatile god of nature who embodies the wild, untamed aspects of reality. These beings represent the most fundamental forces of existence: creation, destruction, love, death, and the chaotic power of the natural world. They are not bound by human morality or understanding, operating according to their own alien logic and desires. What makes them old is not merely their age, but their primordial nature. They are the original cosmic forces that shaped the world before humanity even existed. But perhaps the most mysterious among these old gods is Rher, the Trickster Moon God. Unlike his fellow old gods, Rher never fully withdrew his attention from humanity. While Grogoroth and Sylvian eventually became disgusted with mankind's selfishness and narrow-mindedness, fading away from the mortal realm, Rher remained vigilant. He continued to observe, to scheme, and most importantly, to interfere with human affairs. This persistence would prove to be one of his defining characteristics, setting him apart from his divine brethren who had grown weary of mortal concerns. Where other old gods turned away in disgust or indifference, Rher maintained his cosmic watch, his gaze never leaving the humans who scurried about in the world below his lunar throne. The world of fear and hunger does not follow a unified religious system. Instead, different factions worship different gods, creating a complex tapestry of belief systems that often conflict with one another. This religious diversity reflects the chaotic nature of the world itself, where multiple sources of power compete for influence and control over mortal affairs. The old gods are seen as the true gods of the world, representing the most basic and primal concepts present in existence. They embody forces that transcend human understanding fundamental aspects of reality that were present before consciousness, before civilization, before humanity itself developed the capacity to question or challenge divine authority. What makes Rher particularly significant in this pantheon is his active antagonism toward human progress. While other old gods might be indifferent to humanity's fate, treating mortals with the same disinterest that humans might show toward insects, Rher takes a personal interest in preventing mankind from achieving divine status. This jealous nature, this unwillingness to share godhood with humans, becomes the driving force behind many of the most tragic events in the fear and hunger timeline. His motivations, while incomprehensible to both new gods and humans alike, stem from a fundamental belief that mortals should not have the same rights as true gods. To Rher, there is a cosmic hierarchy that must be preserved, a natural order where old gods reign supreme and humans remain in their proper subordinate position. Any attempt by humans to transcend their mortal limitations represents not just ambition, but a violation of cosmic law itself. The distinction between old gods and new gods is crucial to understanding Rher's antagonism. New gods are humans who have ascended to divinity, mortals who have achieved godhood through various means, often involving the ancient city of Ma'aba and its throne of ascension. These new gods represent humanity's endless potential, their ability to transcend mortal limitations and achieve something approaching divine power. To Rher, this represents an affront to the natural order, a corruption of what godhood should represent. The old gods are gods because that is their essential nature, their fundamental being. They did not become gods through achievement or effort. They simply are gods, and have been since the dawn of existence. Humans attempting to achieve godhood, in Rher's view, is akin to clay attempting to become the potter, to fire attempting to become the sun. This cosmic tension between old and new, between primordial power and human ambition, forms the backdrop against which Rher's story unfolds. He stands as a guardian of the old ways, a jealous protector of divine privilege who sees human ascension as both mockery and threat. His methods of combating this perceived threat range from subtle manipulation to direct intervention, always working to undermine human potential and prevent the rise of new divine powers. The theological implications of this conflict extend far beyond simple power struggles. At stake is the very definition of what divinity means, who deserves to wield cosmic power, and whether the universe operates according to fixed hierarchies or evolving principles. Rher represents the conservative position in this cosmic debate, arguing through his actions that change itself is a form of corruption, that the old order was established for good reason, and should be preserved at any cost. Yet the existence of new gods proves that the barriers between mortal and divine are not as absolute as Rher would prefer. Humans have achieved godhood, have wielded cosmic power, and have shaped reality in ways that challenge the supremacy of the old gods. Each successful ascension represents a crack in the foundation of Rher's cosmic philosophy, evidence that perhaps the old order is not as natural or inevitable as he believes. This creates a tragic dimension to Rher's character. He is fighting a defensive battle against forces he cannot ultimately defeat, the natural evolution of consciousness, the unstoppable march of change, and humanity's refusal to accept permanent subordination. His jealous watch becomes an eternal burden, a cosmic mission that can never truly succeed, but that he cannot abandon without surrendering his very identity and purpose. The new gods themselves describe Rher as jealous, unwilling to share godhood and the world order with humans. They acknowledge his many attempts to diminish their influence, though they admit his motivations seem incomprehensible to them. This incomprehensibility is key to understanding Rher's character. He operates according to a logic that predates human civilization, following thought patterns that are genuinely alien to mortal understanding. As we explore Rher's nature, methods, and impact throughout this journey, we'll discover that he is far more than a simple antagonist or obstacle to human progress. He is a complex cosmic entity whose actions reflect deep philosophical positions about the nature of existence, the proper ordering of reality, and the eternal tension between preservation and change that characterizes all conscious life. Rher's defining characteristic is his jealous nature, a trait that permeates every aspect of his being and drives all of his actions throughout the Fear and Hunger series. This jealousy is not the petty emotion we might recognize in mortals, the resentment over lost love, the envy of another's possessions, or the fear of being replaced. Instead, it represents something far more profound and cosmic in scope, a fundamental rejection of change and a desperate attempt to preserve an ancient order that he sees as natural and proper. The new gods themselves describe Rher as a jealous kind who would not share godhood and the world order with humans and the new gods. They acknowledge his many attempts to diminish their influence, though they admit that his motivations seem incomprehensible to them. This incomprehensibility is key to understanding Rher's character. He operates according to a logic that predates human civilization, following thought patterns that are alien to mortal understanding and even to the understanding of ascended humans who have achieved divinity. What drives this jealousy? At its core, Rher's jealousy stems from a belief that humans should not have the same rights as true gods. This is not merely an opinion or preference. but a fundamental article of faith that shapes his entire worldview. To Rher, godhood is not something to be achieved or earned, but something intrinsic to certain beings. The old gods are gods, because that is their nature, their essential being, the fundamental truth of what they are. This perspective creates an unbridgeable philosophical gap between Rher and those who believe in human potential. Where humans see ascension as achievement, as the fulfillment of potential and the reward for struggle, Rher sees it as cosmic presumption, as beings attempting to claim a status they can never truly possess. A human who achieves godhood, in his view, is not a true god but a pretender, an actor playing a role they were never meant to occupy. This jealous nature manifests in numerous ways throughout the series. Rher sees the new gods as mocking and pretentious, viewing their ascension as a kind of cosmic joke played at the expense of true divinity. Imagine how a master craftsman might feel watching someone with no training or understanding claim to be their equal, based on a few lucky successes. That contempt, that sense of violation, approximates Rhea's emotional response to human ascension, though amplified to cosmic proportions. His response to this perceived mockery is systematic and calculated. Rather than expressing his displeasure through direct confrontation, which might grant the new gods a form of recognition and legitimacy, Rher prefers subtlety, trickery, and long-term planning. He is, after all, the Trickster God, and his methods reflect this aspect of his nature. He works through servants and proxies, manipulates events across centuries, and creates situations where humans eliminate themselves or voluntarily abandon their divine ambitions. The depth of Rher's jealousy becomes apparent when we consider the lengths to which he will go to prevent human ascension. He employs servants to hunt and kill children, who might potentially become vessels for new gods, targeting the innocent and the young without apparent remorse. Wasedesti tell yourself, herdi carvers, here there is Ontario for the transporting, tears briskers, your ideas, targeting the innocent and the young without apparent remorse. Then yours terrorist to wars, the your outright, some more permanent wars. He orchestrates elaborate festivals, designed to eliminate potential threats to the old order, creating events that masquerade as opportunities while functioning as elaborate death traps. He manipulates events across centuries, working patiently toward goals that might not come to fruition for generations. This is not the behavior of a being driven by mere petty jealousy, the temporary resentment that mortals experience. This is the behavior of one consumed by a cosmic imperative to preserve what he sees as the fundamental structure of reality, someone for whom the prevention of human ascension is not just a goal, but the very purpose of his existence. Interestingly, Rher's jealousy is described as incomprehensible even to other divine beings. The new gods, despite their own divine nature and cosmic awareness, cannot fully understand his motivations or methods. This suggests that Rher's jealousy operates on a level that transcends normal divine psychology, that it represents something more fundamental than simple desire for power or status. This incomprehensibility might stem from the fundamental difference between old gods and new gods. The new gods, having originated as humans, retain some connection to human psychology and values even after their ascension. They understand ambition, achievement, and the desire for transcendence because these were the very forces that drove their own transformation. Rher, having never been human, having existed as a cosmic force since before humanity itself, operates according to entirely different principles. In his view, he is not the villain of the story but its hero, fighting to preserve cosmic justice against the tide of human ambition. He genuinely believes in the righteousness of his cause, sees himself as maintaining proper order rather than imposing tyranny. This moral certainty makes him particularly dangerous. He is not acting out of malice or sadism, but out of cosmic duty as he understands it. This jealous nature also explains why Rher is described as one of the last old gods to still observe mankind. While his fellow old gods have grown tired of human affairs and withdrawn from the world, disgusted by humanity's selfishness and ambition, Rher cannot afford such luxury. His mission requires constant vigilance, endless observation, and careful timing. He must watch for signs of human ascension, identify potential threats to the old order, and act to neutralize them before they can fully manifest. This eternal watch is both his burden and his purpose, the price of his jealous commitment to preserving divine hierarchy. Where other old gods can turn away, can retreat into cosmic indifference or pursue their own alien interests, Rher remains bound to his vigil. His jealousy chains him to humanity more surely than any love or compassion could, forcing him to remain engaged with the mortal world, even as his divine siblings abandon it. The tragedy of Rher's jealousy lies in its fundamental futility. Despite all his efforts, despite centuries of careful planning and intervention, humanity continues to ascend. New gods continue to emerge, each one representing another failure of his cosmic mission. The old order continues to erode, worn away by the relentless pressure of human ambition and divine evolution. Rher's cause becomes increasingly hopeless with each passing generation. Yet he persists, driven by a jealousy so profound that abandoning his mission would mean abandoning his very identity. He is trapped by his own nature, condemned to fight an endless battle against forces he cannot ultimately defeat. This creates a paradoxical situation where Rher is simultaneously one of the most powerful beings in the Fear and Hunger universe and one of the most constrained, possessed of vast cosmic power, but unable to use it to achieve his fundamental objective. The psychological toll of this eternal struggle, if we can even speak of psychology in relation to cosmic entities, must be immense. Century after century of watching, planning, acting, and failing. Each successful human ascension represents not just a tactical defeat, but a philosophical repudiation of everything Rher believes about the proper ordering of reality. Yet he cannot stop, cannot give up, cannot accept that the universe has moved beyond the simple hierarchies he seeks to preserve. This jealousy also reveals something important about Rher's relationship with truth and self-awareness. Unlike many antagonists who deceive themselves about their motivations, Rher appears to understand exactly what drives him. His jealousy is not hidden or sublimated but openly acknowledged, worn almost as a badge of cosmic identity. He is jealous, and he sees no shame in this jealousy because, from his perspective, it represents proper cosmic sentiment rather than moral failing. In the end, Rher's jealousy represents one of the fundamental forces shaping the Fear and Hunger universe. The resistance of the old to the new, the attempt of established power to prevent change, and the cosmic tension between preservation and evolution. His character embodies the question that haunts all systems and hierarchies. What happens when the old order refuses to yield to new realities? When cosmic conservatism confronts unstoppable change? The moon serves as both Rher's symbol and his literal seat of power, representing multiple layers of meaning within the Fear and Hunger mythology. As the moon god, Rher embodies many of the traditional associations with lunar imagery that appear across human cultures: mystery, change, hidden truth, and the revelation of what lies beneath surface appearances. However, in the context of this dark fantasy world, these associations take on far more sinister implications than in most mythological traditions. In the Skin Bible dedicated to Rher, he is portrayed as a god of the insane and a trickster of madness. This connection between the moon and madness has deep roots in human mythology, where lunar cycles have long been associated with mental instability and the revelation of hidden truths. The very word lunacy derives from Latin lunaticus, meaning moonstruck, reflecting the ancient belief that the moon's influence could drive people mad. In Rher's case, this association is literal rather than metaphorical. His moonlight has the actual power to drive people insane, to transform them into moonscorched beings whose humanity is stripped away in favor of monstrous forms that reflect their inner nature. This is not symbolic madness or poetic darkness, but genuine cosmic corruption that fundamentally alters those exposed to it, rewriting their very essence according to Rher's vision of their true nature. The moon serves as Rher's vantage point from which he observes humanity. From this celestial throne, he watches the events of the mortal world unfold, identifying threats to the old order and planning his interventions accordingly. This elevated position symbolizes his detachment from human concerns, his ability to see the larger patterns of history while remaining emotionally removed from the individual suffering his actions cause. Yet this cosmic distance also represents his isolation, his separation from the world he seeks to control. The moon is forever separated from the earth, able to influence it through gravitational pull and reflected light, but never able to truly touch it or be part of it. Similarly, Rhe's cosmic nature places him forever apart from humanity, able to observe and manipulate, but never to truly understand or participate in human existence. Ironically, despite being associated with madness and deception, Rher also represents truth in its purest and most uncomfortable form. His moonlight illuminates those who are touched by its rays, revealing their true nature beneath whatever masks or facades they might wear. This is referenced in the occult book, The Truth Under the Moonlight, which explores themes of hiding one's true self under masks to control public image, and how ineffective this method ultimately proves when faced with lunar revelation. The moon reveals truth, but it is often a truth that drives the observer to madness. This dual nature of truth and madness is central to understanding Rher's character. He offers genuine insight and knowledge to those who seek it, but the price of this knowledge is often sanity itself. The human mind, evolved to deal with mundane concerns of survival and social interaction, is simply not equipped to process cosmic reality without being fundamentally altered by the experience. Evidence from the game suggests that engraving Rher's sigil onto one's face increases mind, making one no more, without going completely insane from the truth. This suggests that Rher's truth is not inherently maddening, but that the human mind requires special preparation or protection to integrate cosmic knowledge without psychological collapse. The sigil serves as a kind of spiritual interface, allowing the bearer to access divine knowledge while maintaining enough psychological stability to function. The moon also serves as a source of Rher's power over the mortal world. During the events of Fear and Hunger 2, Termina, the moonlight becomes a weapon, causing the condition known as moonscorch in those exposed to it for extended periods. This affliction transforms victims into monstrous beings that retain some aspects of their original personalities, while being driven to homicidal madness. The transformation is both physical and psychological, representing a stripping away of civilized humanity to reveal the primal, beast-like nature that Rher believes lies at the core of all mortals. From his perspective, moonscorch does not create monsters but reveals them, shows what humans truly are when all pretense and social conditioning are burned away by cosmic truth. Moonscorch serves multiple purposes in Rher's grand design. On a practical level, it eliminates potential threats to the old order by transforming would-be heroes into monsters that must be destroyed. On a symbolic level, it demonstrates Rher's fundamental argument about human nature, that beneath the veneer of civilization, humans are nothing more than beasts driven by base impulses. The moonscorched beings are not aberrations or corruptions of humanity, but revelations of what humans truly are when all pretense is stripped away. The moon's phases also hold significance in Rher's symbolism. His emblem consists of 3 circles with 2 positioned at top, one of them, and within the top right circle lies a horizontal omega symbol adorned with a central dot. In his skin Bible, illustrations suggest that the circle with the dot symbolizes an eye, while the overlap between the 3 circles hints at the crescent phases of the moon. This imagery connects Rher's power to the natural cycles of the celestial body he inhabits, suggesting that his influence waxes and wanes with lunar phases. During the new moon, when the moon is dark and invisible, his power might be at its weakest, his ability to observe and influence diminished. During the full moon, when lunar light is at its strongest, his cosmic authority reaches its peak, making moonscorch more virulent and his revelations more devastating. Yet perhaps most significantly, the moon represents Rhe's persistence and eternal nature. Unlike the sun, which dominates the day but must yield to darkness, the moon maintains its presence throughout the night, watching, waiting, and observing. Even when not visible during the day, its influence can be felt in the tides and the cycles of nature. The moon is always there, whether we see it or not, just as Rher's influence persists, even when he is not directly active. Similarly, Rher's influence persists even when he is not directly intervening, working through his servants, through the long-term consequences of his past actions, and through the cultural fear and psychological conditioning his previous interventions have created. The moon is eternal, and so is Rher's jealous watch over humanity, his cosmic surveillance, never truly ending even when his direct involvement might wax and wane. The moon as throne also represents Rher's authority and his claim to cosmic legitimacy. In many mythological traditions, the seat or throne of a deity represents their domain and their right to rule. By making the moon his throne, Rher claims dominion over all that falls under moonlight, all that occurs in darkness, all hidden truths and secret selves that are revealed when the sun's harsh light fades. This cosmic real estate claim has profound implications. During the night, during the hours when humans sleep and their conscious defenses are lowered, they fall under Rher's jurisdiction. Dreams, nightmares, and the revelations that come in darkness all belong to his domain. This creates a situation where humanity can never truly escape his influence. Even when the sun rules the day, the night must eventually come, and with it, Rher's watchful gaze. The psychological impact of living under a cosmic authority that literally watches from the sky cannot be understated. The moon is visible to everyone, inescapable, except under heavy cloud cover. Knowing that Rher observes from this celestial vantage point creates a sense of cosmic paranoia, the feeling of being perpetually surveilled by an intelligence that sees not just actions but innermost thoughts and hidden natures. Rher's influence on the mortal world is largely exercised through his servants, each of whom embodies different aspects of his nature and serves specific functions in his grand design to prevent human ascension. These servants are not merely followers or worshippers in the traditional sense, but actual creatures spawned by Rher's will, figments of his imagination given form and purpose in the material world. Their existence demonstrates both the depth of Rher's power and the sophistication of his long-term planning. The most prominent of Rher's servants is Pocketcat, a being who has achieved legendary status as a boogeyman in children's stories and fairy tales. Pocketcat represents the intersection of Rher's trickster nature with his practical goals of preventing human ascension. The lore indicates that Pocketcat is a creature spawned by the moon god, created specifically to carry out his will on the mortal plane, distinguishing him from mere worshippers who choose to serve a deity. This distinction suggests that Rher's servants are extensions of his own divine essence, rather than independent beings who have chosen to serve him. They appear to be manifestations of Rher's, were given physical form and autonomous agency to act when direct divine intervention would be impractical or counterproductive. Pocketcat's primary mission involves hunting and eliminating children who might potentially become vessels for new gods. This horrific task reflects Rher's understanding of how divine ascension typically occurs. Many new gods began their journey to divinity as children with special potential, often possessing divine parentage or having been exposed to cosmic forces beyond normal human experience. By eliminating these children before they can fulfill their potential, Pocketcat strikes at the very source of humanity's divine ambitions. His methods are both practical and psychological. The fear he generates serves to discourage those who might otherwise seek to protect potential divine candidates. Parents learn not to speak of gifted children, communities learn to hide those with unusual abilities, and an atmosphere of paranoia develops around divine potential itself. The character of Pocketcat is deliberately designed to be both terrifying and oddly sympathetic. Despite engaging in acts of unspeakable evil, the murder of children, after all he displays what could be described as likable behavior, expressing sentiments and emotions openly. He conducts himself with a strange form of respect, thoughtfulness, and even gentlemanly behavior even when facing opponents in battle. This contradiction reflects Rher's own trickster nature, his ability to present evil in appealing forms and to make the monstrous seem reasonable or even charming. Pocketcat demonstrates how cosmic evil need not be obviously repulsive or overtly cruel. It can wear a pleasant mask, speak politely, and still accomplish terrible purposes. This makes him more dangerous than a simple monster because his victims might not recognize the threat until it's too late. Pocketcat's existence as a figure in children's stories raises interesting questions about the nature of folklore in the fear and hunger world. Whether the fairy tale inspired Rhee's creation of Pocketcat, or if the creature itself became the source of the tale, remains uncertain. This ambiguity is characteristic of Rhere's methods, blurring the lines between reality and fiction, truth and myth, making it difficult to distinguish genuine threats from superstition. By embedding his servants in the collective unconscious through folklore, Rher ensures that his influence persists, even when his direct intervention is not immediately apparent. Parents tell children stories about Pocketcat to frighten them into obedience, never realizing that the boogeyman is real and actively hunting throughout the world. The myth becomes truth, becomes myth again, creating layers of deception that protect Pocketcat's actual operations while spreading fear that serves Rhea's purposes. The second major servant of Rher is the Lady of Moon, a being who appeared out of the Green Hue within the ancient catacombs of Ma'aba. Like Pocketcat, she is a direct creation of Rher rather than a converted worshipper. Another extension of the moon gods will give an independent form and agency. The Lady of Moon represents a different aspect of Rher's nature, embodying his connection to the mysterious realm known as the Green Hue, where the older beings originate. Her role appears to involve more direct interaction with potential threats to the Old Order than Pocketcat's relatively straightforward assassination mission. The Lady of Moon offers healing and aid to those she encounters, presenting herself as a benevolent figure who can restore what has been lost or damaged. However, this apparent mercy always comes with a price that serves Rhea's larger agenda. The Lady of Moon's method of communication involves telepathy, and she claims her origin within the Green Hue, describing it as a realm where the world is perceived through the lens of a green-looking glass. This description provides insight into the otherworldly nature of Rhea's servants and their connection to planes of existence beyond normal human perception. The Green Hue represents a different mode of being, a realm where consciousness operates according to alien principles that transcend mortal understanding. Like her master, the Lady of Moon disagrees with humanity having the same rights as the true old gods, believing that mortals do not deserve divine status. This philosophical alignment with Rhea's cosmic conservatism shapes all her interactions with humans, even when she provides genuine aid, even when her assistance is effective and her healing true. She does so in service of maintaining cosmic hierarchy, rather than out of compassion for human suffering. What makes the Lady of Moon particularly interesting and disturbing is her willingness to provide aid to those she encounters, but always at a carefully calculated price. She can heal wounds and recover traumas, making individuals whole again, but only in exchange for what she considers the smallest price among a group, typically a child. This reflects Rhea's understanding that humans can often be convinced to participate in their own downfall if the immediate benefits seem to outweigh the long-term costs. The Lady of Moon's healing represents a false mercy, a temporary reprieve that ultimately serves to advance Rhea's larger goals. Those she helps become complicit in the elimination of potential divine candidates, forced to make impossible choices between their own welfare and the lives of children. This corrupts them morally, while also achieving Rhea's practical objective of reducing the number of potential vessels for new gods. In Fear and Hunger 2. Termina, what initially appears to be a new servant, arrives in the form of Perkele, who acts as Rhea's voice and observer during the Festival of Termina. Perkele presents himself as a direct intermediary between the god and the mortal participants in his schemes, explaining rules and objectives while maintaining the illusion of divine authority. However, the relationship between Perkele and Rher proves to be far more complex and deceptive than initially apparent, revealing layers of cosmic manipulation that extend even to what seem to be Rher's own operations. In endings B and C of the game, it is revealed that Perkele actually serves the Sulfur God rather than Rher directly, demonstrating the complexity of divine politics in the Fear and Hunger universe. This betrayal reveals that even cosmic entities can be outmaneuvered by other divine forces. It raises questions about the nature of divine servitude and whether beings created or claiming to serve gods might develop their own agendas that diverge from their supposed master's purposes, or whether the Sulfur God successfully infiltrated what appeared to be Rher's operations for his own mysterious ends. The discovery of Perkele's true allegiance adds a fascinating twist to our understanding of the Festival of Termina and Rher's apparent withdrawal from the world. If Pocketcat has been operating under false pretenses, then recent festivals might have been serving the Sulfur God's agenda, rather than Rher's original anti-ascension mission. This cosmic identity theft represents a sophisticated form of divine manipulation that even Rher, with all his trickster cunning, apparently failed to prevent or detect. All of Rher's servants share certain characteristics that reflect their master's nature and methods. They are beings of duality, capable of appearing helpful or harmless, while pursuing deeply malevolent goals. Pocketcat seems charming and gentlemanly while murdering children. The Lady of Moon offers genuine healing while demanding terrible prices. Pocketcat presents himself as Rher's voice while actually serving a different master entirely. This duality serves Rher's purposes by making his agents difficult to recognize and oppose. They do not announce themselves as servants of a jealous god seeking to prevent human ascension. Instead, they integrate into mortal society, present themselves as sources of opportunity or aid, and convince their victims to participate willingly in schemes that ultimately serve to eliminate divine potential and maintain cosmic hierarchy. They operate through deception and manipulation rather than direct force, preferring to convince their victims to participate willingly in their own destruction, rather than simply imposing divine will through overwhelming power. This approach is more effective in the long term because it creates psychological patterns and cultural beliefs that continue to serve Rher's purposes even when the servants themselves are not actively present. They represent the seductive nature of evil in Rher's cosmic philosophy, the way that corruption often presents itself as salvation or opportunity rather than obvious threat. Pocketcat appeals to greed and desperation, offering valuable items in exchange for moral compromises. The Lady of Moon exploits compassion and the desire for healing, using these positive impulses to achieve negative ends. Pocketcat appeals to ambition and the desire for transcendence, promising contestants in the Festival of Termina a chance at illustrious reality and a peek at grandeur. Perhaps most significantly, Rher's servants embody his patience and long-term thinking. They do not seek immediate gratification or quick victories, but instead work slowly and methodically toward goals that might not be achieved for generations. This patience reflects Rher's divine nature and his understanding that cosmic conflicts are measured in centuries rather than years. His servants are designed not just to achieve immediate objectives, but to establish patterns of behavior and belief that will continue to serve his purposes long after their individual missions are complete. The fear of Pocketcat discourages communities from nurturing gifted children. The Lady of Moon's terrible bargains teach humans that divine aid always comes with unacceptable costs. Pocketcat's festivals create cultural memories of cosmic trials that discourage ambition and divine aspiration. In this way, Rher's servants are more than mere agents. They are tools for reshaping human consciousness itself, for creating a world where humans voluntarily limit their own potential out of fear, superstition, or learned helplessness. This represents perhaps the most sophisticated aspect of Rher's campaign against human ascension, the creation of self-perpetuating systems that continue to serve his purposes even without constant divine oversight. Rher's primary objective throughout the Fear and Hunger series is to prevent humanity from achieving divine status and challenging the authority of the old gods. This war against human ascension is not fought through direct military conflict or overt displays of divine power, but through a complex campaign of sabotage, manipulation, and strategic elimination of key figures who might lead humanity toward godhood. Understanding this conflict requires examining both Rher's methods and the specific targets he chooses to eliminate, as well as the long-term consequences of his interventions on human development and cosmic politics. The foundation of Rher's strategy lies in his understanding of how human ascension typically occurs. New gods are often humans who possessed some form of divine ancestry or potential from birth, individuals who were destined to serve as vessels for divine power. Many of these potential gods begin their journey as children, often through circumstances involving divine parentage or exposure to cosmic forces beyond normal human experience. By identifying and eliminating these children before they can fulfill their potential, Rher strikes at the very root of human divine ambition. This strategy explains the horrific mission assigned to Pocketcat and the Lady of Moon, hunting and killing children who have any sort of relationship with the new gods. This is not random violence or sadistic cruelty for its own sake, but a calculated campaign designed to prevent these children from being used as vessels for new divine power. The servants target children specifically because Rher understands that divine potential often manifests early in life, and that preventing ascension is much easier than reversing it once it has already occurred. A child with divine potential is vulnerable, dependent on mortal guardians, and has not yet developed the power or awareness necessary to defend against cosmic threats. Eliminating them at this stage prevents years or decades of development that might eventually culminate in successful ascension. The case of Orma provides a clear example of the type of ascension Rher seeks to prevent. Orma was born of a virgin mother and supposedly sired by a false god, making him half man and half new god from birth. He gathered 12 apostles, challenged the old world order, and ultimately ascended to become one of the most powerful and influential new gods in the Fear and Hunger universe. Orma's success represents exactly the kind of human ascension that Rher fears and seeks to prevent. A being of mixed divine and human heritage who uses human followers to build power, challenges established cosmic order, and successfully achieves godhood through a combination of inherent potential and conscious effort. Each aspect of Orma's story represents a failure point in Rher's defensive strategy. The birth should have been prevented, the child should have been eliminated, the gathering of followers should have been disrupted. Rher's war against human ascension reaches a critical point during the events of the first Fear and Hunger game, when he learns of the daughter of the new god Nilvan and Legard. This child represents a direct threat to the old order, being the offspring of a new god representing humanity's endless potential and a man described in prophecy. According to the game's lore, such a child would possess immense potential for ascension, possibly even rivaling the old gods themselves in power. The combination of new god and human divine heritage creates the potential for something unprecedented, an ascended god who might rival the old gods in power, while retaining connection to human consciousness and values. This represents Rher's worst nightmare, the ultimate validation of human divine potential, and a definitive refutation of his claim that true godhood is reserved for primordial beings. In response to this threat, Rher dispatches both Pocketcat and the Lady of Moon to the Dungeon of Fear and Hunger with explicit instructions to find and eliminate the child before she can fulfill her destiny. This represents one of Rher's most direct interventions in human affairs, a departure from his usual preference for subtlety and indirect influence. The deployment of multiple servants simultaneously indicates the seriousness with which he views this particular threat. The mission fails, however, due to the intervention of the protagonist and the careful planning of Nilvan herself. The new god understood that Rher would target her daughter and arranged for champions to arrive at the dungeon, individuals capable of protecting the child and defeating Rher's servants. This demonstrates the growing sophistication of new god's strategy and their ability to anticipate and counter Rher's methods. The failure of this mission results in the birth of the god of fear and hunger, an ascended god described in the lore as possessing power rivaling that of the old gods. This represents a devastating defeat for Rher and his cause, demonstrating that despite his power and cunning, he is not infallible. The god of fear and hunger goes on to influence humanity's development into a new age of cultural and technological advancement, exactly the kind of progress that Rher's interventions had sought to prevent. Yet some interpretations suggest that this turn of events might actually be part of a larger stratagem devised by the moon god, whose true plans remain hidden even from other divine beings. This possibility reflects the complexity of Rher's character and his reputation as a trickster. Even apparent defeats might serve larger purposes that are not immediately apparent to observers. Perhaps the god of fear and hunger's existence serves some cosmic function that Rher foresaw, or perhaps allowing this particular ascension prevents something even worse from Rher's perspective. Following this setback, Rher adapts his strategy and develops new methods for combating human ascension. Rather than relying solely on the elimination of specific individuals, he begins to focus on creating systemic obstacles to human divine achievement. This evolution in approach leads to the conception and implementation of the Festival of Termina, a recurring event designed to eliminate multiple potential threats simultaneously while creating the appearance of offering opportunity for ascension. The Festival of Termina represents perhaps Rher's most sophisticated anti-ascension strategy. By gathering multiple individuals with divine potential in a single location and forcing them to compete against each other, Rher ensures that most potential threats will be eliminated regardless of the specific outcome. If the contestants kill each other, the threats are removed. If they refuse to fight and moonscorch takes them, the threats are removed. If one emerges victorious, they have been fundamentally changed by the experience in ways that might render them unsuitable for true divine ascension. The festival is presented as an opportunity for greatness, a chance for participants to achieve illustrious reality and experience the festival to end all festivals. In reality, it is a death trap designed to eliminate humanity's most promising divine candidates, while creating cultural narratives that discourage others from pursuing similar paths. The survivors, if any, carry psychological trauma and cosmic knowledge that serves as a warning to others about the dangers of divine ambition. The psychological aspects of Rher's anti-ascension campaign are as important as the physical elimination of threats. By creating an atmosphere of fear and suspicion around divine ascension, Rher discourages individuals from pursuing their divine potential, even when they possess the capability to do so. The stories of children disappearing, the legends of the Festival of Termina, and the general atmosphere of cosmic horror surrounding divine matters all serve to make ascension seem too dangerous or costly to attempt. This psychological warfare is particularly effective because it creates self-perpetuating cycles of fear and repression. Parents hide their gifted children rather than nurturing their abilities. Communities exile those with unusual powers rather than protecting them. Individuals with divine potential suppress or deny their own abilities out of fear of attracting cosmic attention. Rher's influence becomes internalized, turning humans into accomplices in their own cosmic subordination. Rher's war against human ascension also involves more subtle forms of interference, such as the corruption of potential divine candidates through moonscorch or other forms of cosmic contamination. Rather than killing these individuals outright, these methods transform them into something that cannot achieve ascension, while still technically being alive. This approach allows Rher to neutralize threats while avoiding some of the attention that more direct elimination might attract. The moonscorched serve as living demonstrations of Rher's philosophy about human nature. Their transformations into bestial, monstrous forms support his argument that humans are fundamentally unsuited for divinity, that beneath the veneer of civilization lies only base impulses and destructive potential. Each moonscorched being becomes propaganda for Rher's cause, evidence that humans who reach for godhood become monsters instead. The long-term nature of Rher's campaign against human ascension demonstrates his divine patience and his understanding that cosmic conflicts unfold over centuries rather than years. Each individual intervention, whether successful or not, serves to establish patterns and precedents that influence future events. Even when specific missions fail, they contribute to a larger atmosphere of fear and uncertainty that makes future ascension attempts more difficult and less likely to succeed. The cumulative effect of Rher's interventions across generations creates what might be called cosmic trauma in human consciousness. Humanity develops a collective understanding that divine ambition leads to suffering, that those who reach too high will be struck down, that it is safer to accept one's place in the cosmic hierarchy than to challenge it. This internalized oppression proves more effective than any amount of direct intervention could be. However, Rher's war also produces unintended consequences that work against his objectives. The adversity he creates serves as a selection pressure that identifies and strengthens those humans who possess genuine resilience and divine potential. Those who survive his interventions, who resist moonscorch, who escape his servants and overcome his trials, emerge stronger and more capable than they would have been without such opposition. In this way, Rher inadvertently contributes to the evolution of increasingly formidable new gods. Each generation, that survives his culling is more resilient, more cunning, and more capable than the last. The god of fear and hunger, forged in the crucible of Rher's opposition, possesses power and sophistication that earlier new gods might have lacked. The very intensity of Rher's opposition creates the conditions for stronger opponents to emerge. This creates a tragic irony at the heart of Rher's cosmic mission. His efforts to prevent human ascension actually contribute to the development of more powerful ascended beings. When his preventive measures ultimately fail, he is trapped in an arms race of his own creation, forced to develop increasingly sophisticated methods to counter increasingly capable human opponents, with no possibility of ultimate victory, but equally no possibility of abandoning the fight. The Festival of Termina represents the culmination of Rher's sophisticated approach to preventing human ascension, a carefully orchestrated event that demonstrates both his cunning and his understanding of human psychology. Announced in 1942, following the end of the Second Great War, the festival appears to offer participants a chance at transcendence and greatness, but in reality serves as an elaborate trap designed to eliminate multiple threats to the old order simultaneously. The conceptual framework of the Festival of Termina is masterfully deceptive. Rather than presenting itself as a trial or a test of worthiness, the festival is marketed as an opportunity, a chance for one of the participants to achieve what Pocketcat describes as illustrious reality, and to experience the festival to end all festivals. This framing exploits fundamental human desires for recognition, achievement, and transcendence, drawing in individuals who might otherwise be suspicious of divine intervention in their lives. The promise of opportunity, rather than the threat of judgment, makes the festival psychologically compelling in ways that more honest framing would not. People willingly travel to Preheval, believing they have been chosen for honor rather than marked for elimination. They arrive with hope rather than fear, ambition rather than caution. This willing participation makes them complicit in their own potential destruction, another layer of Rher's Trickster methodology. Rher's selection of participants demonstrates his deep understanding of human potential and divine destiny. He foresaw the arrival of 14 specific individuals to the town of Preheval, choosing each of them as contestants based on their potential to threaten the old order. These were not random selections, but carefully chosen individuals who possessed various forms of divine potential, special abilities, or connections to cosmic forces that might eventually lead to ascension. The diversity of the selected contestants is itself significant. They come from different backgrounds, possess different skills, represent different approaches to confronting adversity and pursuing transcendence. A soldier, a journalist, a doctor, a convict each brings unique capabilities and perspectives to the festival. This diversity ensures that the event will explore multiple dimensions of human character while providing comprehensive evidence for Rher's arguments about mortal nature. The festival's structure as a battle royale serves multiple purposes in Rher's grand design. On the surface level, it ensures that only one participant can survive, automatically eliminating the vast majority of potential threats. The mathematics are brutally simple. 14 contestants enter, 13 must die, leaving Rher to deal with only a single survivor, rather than multiple divine candidates scattered across the world. However, the deeper purpose lies in the psychological and spiritual corruption that the competition itself generates. By forcing individuals with divine potential to murder each other, the festival ensures that even the survivor is fundamentally changed by the experience, potentially rendered unsuitable for true divine ascension. Someone who has killed 13 people, even in self-defense or under cosmic compulsion, carries psychological trauma and moral corruption that might disqualify them from achieving the purity or wholeness required for godhood. The festival tests not just survival ability, but moral character, forcing participants to choose between their professed values and their desire to live. Will they help other contestants or betray them? Will they maintain their humanity or descend into savagery? Will they seek cooperation or embrace competition? Each choice reveals character, and each revelation provides Rher with information about human nature and divine potential. The gradual revelation of the festival's true nature functions as a form of cosmic dramatic irony. Participants begin with hopes of achieving greatness or transcendence, believing they have been chosen for honor rather than elimination. The slow realization that they are actually victims in an elaborate trap mirrors what Rher sees as the broader human condition. Mortals consistently overestimate their own importance and capabilities, pursuing divine ambitions while remaining blind to their fundamental limitations and the cosmic forces arrayed against them. This revelation occurs in stages, allowing Rher to observe how humans respond to dawning understanding of their situation. Do they maintain hope and continue fighting? Do they despair and surrender? Do they turn on each other or attempt cooperation? Each response provides data about human psychology and divine potential, information that Rher can use to refine future interventions. The role of moonscorch in the festival cannot be understated. As the event progresses and participants fail to eliminate each other quickly enough, Rher's patience begins to wear thin, and he uses his lunar influence to transform the remaining contestants into monstrous versions of themselves. This moonscorch serves both as punishment for the failure to complete the festival's objectives quickly and as a final failsafe to ensure that no participant can achieve ascension, even if they somehow survive the competition. The timing of moonscorch transformations reveals important aspects of Rher's psychology and methods. He does not immediately transform all contestants, but allows them time to prove themselves through mutual combat. This suggests either patience, a desire to observe human behavior under pressure, or perhaps even a slight hope that humans might demonstrate worthiness through their choices and actions. When moonscorch finally comes, it serves as Rher's ultimate judgment. This is what you truly are. This is the beast beneath the human mask. This is why you are unworthy of godhood. The transformations are not random, but specifically tailored to reveal each individual's essential nature as Rher perceives it. The moonscorch transformations reveal deep truths about the nature of the contestants, and by extension, humanity itself. Rather than creating random monsters, moonscorch transforms each individual into a form that reflects their inner nature, their deepest desires, and their fundamental character. These transformations serve as a kind of cosmic judgment, stripping away the pretenses of civilization to reveal what Rher believes to be the true, bestial nature of all humans. The specific moonscorched forms that contestants take often reflect twisted versions of their greatest strengths or most defining characteristics. A doctor might become a medical monstrosity that parodies healing arts. A soldier might transform into a war machine that embodies militarism taken to grotesque extremes. Scholar might become a creature of forbidden knowledge that demonstrates the dangers of unchecked curiosity. These transformations demonstrate Rher's argument that human ambition and potential, when taken to their logical extremes, inevitably lead to corruption and monstrosity, rather than divine transcendence. From his perspective, moonscorch does not create these monstrous potentials but merely reveals them, shows what humans would become if granted the power they seek. The town of Prehevel itself serves as more than just a venue for the festival. It becomes a character in its own right, a place where the boundaries between reality and nightmare begin to blur under Rher's influence. The ordinary citizens of the town are transformed into moonscorched beings, creating an environment where civilized human society has completely broken down. This transformation of an entire community serves as a microcosm of what Rher believes would happen if humans were granted divine power on a larger scale. Civilization collapses, social bonds dissolve, and humanity reverts to savage violence. The moonscorched citizens of Prehevel demonstrate Rher's philosophy about human nature writ, large remove divine oversight and cosmic constraint, and humans will destroy themselves and each other. The festival's recurring nature adds another layer of sophistication to Rher's plan. This is not a one-time event, but a pattern that has been repeated multiple times throughout history, with each iteration serving to eliminate new generations of potential divine candidates. The systematic nature of these festivals demonstrates Rher's commitment to his cause and his understanding that the war against human ascension must be fought continuously rather than through single decisive actions. Each festival creates cultural memories and folklore that serve Rher's purposes beyond the immediate elimination of contestants. Stories spread about the horrors of Termina, about the moonscorch, about the futility of divine ambition. These stories discourage others from pursuing ascension, create psychological barriers to human divine development, and contribute to a culture of cosmic fatalism that serves Rher's conservative agenda. However, the revelation that Pocketcat, rather than Rher himself, has been orchestrating the recent festivals adds a crucial twist to our understanding of these events. According to the game's lore, while the original concept and earlier iterations of the festival may have been Rher's creation, the most recent versions, specifically the 3 consecutive festivals in 1942, have been appropriated by the Sulfur God working through Pocketcat for his own purposes. This development suggests that even cosmic powers like Rher can be outmaneuvered by entities with their own agendas when they withdraw from active involvement. The Sulfur God, created according to the lore as a vessel to hold all Rher's subconscious hatred-filled parts, appears to have developed sufficient autonomy and cunning to appropriate Rher's methods and reputation for mysterious purposes that remain unclear. The fact that the Rher visible above Prehival during the festival is merely described as a trace of the departed god rather than his true form raises important questions about the nature of divine intervention in the fear and hunger world. The game's creator has confirmed that players never fight real living older gods, only their traces. This suggests that the old gods, including Rher, have largely withdrawn from direct involvement in mortal affairs, leaving only echoes of their former power to continue influencing events. This withdrawal might represent a recognition that their cause is ultimately hopeless, but no amount of intervention can permanently prevent human ascension, or it might indicate a transition to even more subtle forms of influence, where direct presence becomes less important than the systems, servants, and psychological patterns established over centuries of cosmic manipulation. The psychological impact of the Festival of Termina extends far beyond its immediate participants. The knowledge that such events occur, that individuals can be selected for cosmic trials without their consent or understanding, creates an atmosphere of helplessness and terror that affects entire populations. This psychological effect serves Rher's purposes by discouraging ambition and divine aspiration among humans who might otherwise seek to challenge the old order. Even those who never attend a festival, who never encounter Rher's servants directly, live in a world shaped by the knowledge that cosmic powers actively work to prevent human transcendence. This ambient fear becomes part of the cultural background, shaping decisions and limiting aspirations in ways that serve Rher's agenda without requiring his active intervention. The festival also serves as a testing ground for Rher's understanding of human nature and divine potential. Each iteration provides new data about how humans respond to extreme pressure, how they prioritize their own survival versus moral considerations, and how divine potential manifests under stress. This information allows Rher to refine his future interventions and develop more effective strategies for preventing human ascension. Perhaps most significantly, the Festival of Termina represents the evolution of Rher's methods, from direct intervention to systematic manipulation. Rather than relying on individual servants to eliminate specific threats one at a time, the festival approach allows Rher to address multiple threats simultaneously while creating the illusion of offering opportunity rather than imposing punishment. This evolution demonstrates both his adaptability and his growing sophistication in the art of cosmic manipulation. He has learned from past failures, adapted to changing circumstances, and developed methods that are more efficient and more psychologically devastating than simple assassination. The festival is Rher's masterwork of trickery, a trap that looks like opportunity, elimination disguised as selection, cosmic judgment presented as divine favor. The Green Hue and otherworldly origins. The Green Hue represents one of the most mysterious and significant locations in the fear and hunger universe, serving as the primordial realm from which certain old gods originate. While not explicitly confirmed as Rher's origin point, understanding this otherworldly dimension provides crucial insight into the alien psychology of cosmic entities and the fundamental differences between old gods and the mortal realm they seek to influence. According to the Lady of Moon, the Green Hue is a realm where one sees the world through a green-looking glass, a place where the older beings originate. This description suggests that the Green Hue is not merely a different location in physical space, but an entirely different mode of existence, a plane of reality where perception itself operates according to different rules than those governing the mortal world. The metaphor of the green-looking glass is particularly evocative. It implies that beings from this realm perceive reality through a filter that fundamentally alters their understanding of existence. Just as looking through colored glass changes the appearance of everything you see, existing in or originating from the Green Hue would change the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. The Green Hue is confirmed as the original domain of several old gods, specifically Grogoroth and Sylvian. While Rhea's connection to this realm is not explicitly stated in the source material, his servant's knowledge of it and the similar alien characteristics he shares with other old gods suggest possible connections to this otherworldly plane. The old gods, who definitively originate from the Green Hue, share certain characteristics that might apply to Rher as well. They view humanity as fundamentally inferior, operating according to logic that seems alien to mortal understanding. They possess powers that transcend normal physical limitations, capable of reshaping reality according to their will. Most significantly, they perceive existence through frameworks that are genuinely incomprehensible to human consciousness. The nature of existence within the Green Hue appears to be fundamentally different from mortal reality. The Lady of Moon's description suggests that beings in this realm do not perceive the world directly, but through some form of cosmic filter that alters their understanding of reality. This filtered perception might help explain why old gods seem to operate according to logic that appears incomprehensible to humans and even to new gods. They may not be merely using different reasoning processes, but literally perceiving reality through a different conceptual framework. What appears as cruelty or incomprehensible behavior from a human perspective might make perfect sense when viewed through the green-looking glass of their original realm. Their actions follow consistent logic, but that logic operates according to principles that human consciousness cannot fully grasp. While we cannot definitively state that this otherworldly origin applies to Rher specifically, his servant's knowledge of the Green Hue and his alien methods suggest possible connections to similar otherworldly perspectives. If such connections exist, they would have profound implications for understanding Rher's psychology and motivations. His jealous opposition to human ascension might stem from a fundamentally different understanding of what existence means and how reality should be structured. Concepts like individual identity, personal growth, and the potential for transcendence might appear distorted or meaningless when viewed through the perceptual framework of the Green Hue. The Green Hue also provides context for the alien nature of old god magic and abilities. Powers that seem impossible or contradictory from a mortal perspective might be perfectly natural when viewed from the altered reality of the Green Hue. Rher's ability to create servants from his imagination, to influence events across vast distances of time and space, and to transform reality through moonlight, all become more understandable when viewed as expressions of Green Hue physics, rather than violations of mortal natural law. The relationship between the Green Hue and the mortal world appears to be complex and multifaceted. While the Green Hue serves as the origin point for old gods, it is not entirely separate from mortal reality. Servants like the Lady of Moon can travel between these realms, and the influence of Green Hue beings can be felt throughout the mortal world. This suggests that the barrier between these planes of existence is permeable, at least for beings of sufficient power or divine nature. The Green Hue might be understood as a different layer of reality that coexists with the mortal world, accessible through certain locations like the ancient catacombs of Ma'aba, or through the power of cosmic entities who retain connections to both realms. The Green Hue's influence on Rher's servants is particularly evident in their otherworldly characteristics and abilities. The Lady of Moon's telepathic communication, her ability to heal wounds and recover traumas, and her fundamental disconnect from human mortality all reflect her origin in this alien realm. Similarly, Pocketcat's ability to exist simultaneously as a folkloric figure and a physical entity suggests that beings connected to the Green Hue operate according to different rules of existence than purely mortal creatures. The filtering effect of the green hue might also explain why old gods seem to have difficulty understanding human motivations and emotions. If they perceive reality through a fundamentally different conceptual framework, then human concepts like individual identity, personal growth, and moral development might appear distorted or meaningless from their perspective. This perceptual barrier could contribute to their view of humans as inferior beings unworthy of divine status. It's not merely that they see humans and judge them as lacking. They might literally be unable to perceive the qualities that make humans potentially worthy of ascension because those qualities don't translate through the green-looking glass of their cosmic perception. The green hue represents not just a different location, but a different state of being entirely. It embodies the alien nature of cosmic consciousness, the idea that true divine beings operate according to principles that transcend human understanding. For Rher and his fellow old gods, the green hue is not just their home, but the source of their fundamental identity and the foundation of their claim to cosmic authority. Understanding the green hue helps explain why Rher's jealousy seems incomprehensible even to new gods. He is defending not just a political position or a power structure, but a fundamental mode of existence that is threatened by human ascension. When humans become gods, they bring mortal perspective and human values into realms that were previously the exclusive domain of beings who perceive reality through the green-looking glass. This invasion of human consciousness into divine realms might represent, from Rher's perspective, not just a challenge to his authority, but a corruption of the fundamental nature of divinity itself. He is fighting to preserve not just his power, but the very framework through which he understands existence, making his struggle existential in the most literal sense. One of the most paradoxical aspects of Rher's nature is his dual role as both a bringer of madness and a revealer of truth. This seeming contradiction lies at the heart of his character and provides crucial insight into the cosmic philosophy that drives his actions throughout the Fear and Hunger series. Understanding this duality requires examining how truth, madness, and divine revelation intersect in this dark fantasy world. Rher's association with madness is well documented throughout the series. In his Skin Bible, he is depicted as a god of the insane and a trickster of madness. All of the moon-touched inhabitants of Preheval have gone insane under his influence, with only rare exceptions like the woodsman and the mayor maintaining their sanity despite exposure to his power. The moonscorch condition itself appears to represent a form of cosmic madness, transforming victims into creatures that retain fragments of their original consciousness, while being driven to homicidal rage. This is not the simple loss of reason that we might call madness in clinical terms, but something more fundamental, a complete restructuring of consciousness that makes normal human thought and emotion impossible. Yet paradoxically, Rher also represents truth in its purest form. His moonlight illuminates those who are touched by its rays, revealing aspects of their nature that they might prefer to keep hidden. The occult book, The Truth Under the Moonlight, explores this theme extensively, examining how Rher's influence strips away masks and facades to reveal the authentic self beneath. This revelatory power seems to be more than merely metaphorical. According to game mechanics and lore, engraving Rher's sigil onto one's face literally increases mind, allowing the bearer to know more without going completely insane from the truth they acquire. This suggests that Rher's truth is not inherently maddening in itself, but that the human mind is simply not equipped to process cosmic reality without being fundamentally altered by the experience. This paradox of truth bringing madness appears to reflect a fundamental principle in the Fear and Hunger universe. That ultimate truth may be incompatible with human sanity. The mortal mind, evolved to deal with mundane concerns of survival and social interaction, might not be capable of processing cosmic reality without losing what we would recognize as normal mental function. Rher's truth may not be false or misleading. It may be absolutely accurate and genuine, but it is truth on a scale and of a nature that human consciousness cannot integrate without being fundamentally transformed. Madness, in this context, is not the opposite of truth, but the inevitable consequence of encountering truth that transcends human capacity to process. The transformative nature of Rher's truth seems evident in the moonscorch condition. Victims of moonscorch do not become random monsters, but rather transform into forms that appear to reflect their deepest nature, their hidden desires, and their fundamental character. A doctor becomes a medical abomination. A soldier becomes a war machine. A scholar becomes a creature of forbidden knowledge. These transformations might represent a kind of cosmic honesty, stripping away social roles and conscious self-image to reveal the primal drives that actually motivate behavior. From Rher's perspective, these revelations are not cruelties but mercies showing people what they truly are, rather than allowing them to persist in comfortable self-deception. Rher's use of truth as a weapon demonstrates his sophisticated understanding of human psychology. Rather than simply lying to achieve his goals, he offers genuine insight and knowledge, but presents it in forms that are psychologically destructive to those who receive it. This approach is far more effective than simple deception, because it exploits humanity's natural desire for understanding and knowledge, while using that very desire against them. The lunar revelation that Rher provides often takes the form of uncomfortable insights about the nature of existence itself. Those touched by his moonlight gain understanding of cosmic hierarchies, divine politics, and the fundamental inequality between old gods and mortal beings. This knowledge is accurate and valuable, but it is also deeply disturbing to minds that have been raised to believe in human dignity, individual worth, and the possibility of personal transcendence. The madness that accompanies Rher's truth might be understood as a defense mechanism, a way for the human mind to cope with information that contradicts its basic assumptions about reality. Rather than accepting the implications of cosmic truth, that humans are insignificant beings in a universe ruled by alien gods who view them as little more than amusing insects, the mind retreats into madness as a form of psychological self-preservation. Rher's approach to truth-telling also reflects his trickster nature. He does not lie outright, but he presents truth in ways that serve his agenda while appearing to benefit those who receive it. The contestant who gains knowledge through Rher's sigil may feel empowered by their increased understanding, but this knowledge also serves to advance Rher's goals by making them more aware of their own cosmic insignificance and the futility of challenging divine authority. The connection between lunar cycles and revelation adds another layer to Rher's truth-bringing role. Just as the moon waxes and wanes, revealing different amounts of its surface over time, Rher's revelations come in phases, gradually exposing more truth as circumstances require. This cyclical approach to revelation allows him to control the pace at which cosmic knowledge is disseminated, ensuring that recipients are overwhelmed gradually rather than all at once. The selective nature of Rher's truth-telling is also significant. While he reveals uncomfortable truths about human nature and cosmic hierarchy, he carefully conceals information about his own plans and motivations. The new gods themselves acknowledge that Rher's motivations seem incomprehensible to them, suggesting that he maintains strict control over what truths he reveals and to whom. This selective revelation serves both to advance his agenda and to maintain his advantage over potential opponents. By controlling the flow of information, he can shape how others understand cosmic reality while keeping his own strategic position secure. The truth he reveals is genuine, but it is incomplete, designed to serve his purposes rather than to promote genuine understanding or growth. The text, The Truth Under the Moonlight, explores these themes in depth, examining how individuals attempt to hide their true nature under constructed public images, using various forms of deception to control how others perceive them. However, the moon's light strips away these illusions, revealing the authentic self that exists beneath layers of social conditioning and conscious self-deception. This revelation is presented not as a blessing, but as a form of cosmic judgment that few can withstand without psychological damage. The text suggests that lunar revelation is inevitable for all who come under Rher's influence, making it impossible to maintain false identities when exposed to his direct attention. The ultimate irony of Rher's role as truth revealer is that the truths he reveals, while accurate, are presented in service of a fundamentally conservative agenda. His revelations about human nature and cosmic hierarchy are designed to discourage ambition and maintain the status quo, rather than to promote genuine understanding or growth. In this sense, Rher represents the dangerous seductiveness of certain kinds of truth, the way that accurate information can be used to justify unjust systems and discourage positive change. Yes, humans have flaws and limitations. Yes, cosmic forces exist that dwarf human power. But acknowledging these truths does not necessarily mean accepting permanent subordination or abandoning all ambition for growth and transcendence. Perhaps most significantly, the text reveals the tragic nature of Rher's cosmic mission. While his truth-telling serves his agenda of preventing human ascension, it also creates genuine suffering and psychological damage that he seems to recognize as unfortunate but necessary. This suggests that Rher himself may be trapped by cosmic necessity, compelled to cause suffering in service of what he believes to be greater cosmic good. Moonscorch represents perhaps the most visceral and terrifying manifestation of Rher's power, a condition that demonstrates his fundamental view of human nature and his ability to transform reality itself through cosmic influence. Understanding Moonscorch requires examining not only its physical and psychological effects, but also its symbolic significance within Rher's larger philosophy about humanity's place in the cosmic order. The condition known as moonscorch, also referred to as moonlight cancer in some historical documents, has been recognized as a distinct affliction since at least the 9th century. This long history suggests that Rher's influence on humanity extends far beyond the specific events depicted in the Fear and Hunger Games, representing an ongoing cosmic pressure that has shaped human development for over a millennium. The fact that this condition has been documented and studied over such a long period indicates that Rher's interventions in human affairs are neither random nor recent developments. For over 1,000 years, humans have been aware that prolonged exposure to moonlight under certain conditions can result in transformation into monstrous forms. This awareness has shaped human culture, creating taboos around nighttime activity and fear of the moon itself. The mechanism of moonscorch infection provides insight into Rher's methods and philosophy. The condition is caused by prolonged exposure to Rher's moonlight, particularly during periods when his attention is focused on specific individuals or locations. This is not a natural disease that spreads through biological vectors like bacteria or viruses, but a supernatural affliction that reflects Rher's direct cosmic influence. The fact that moonscorch is transmitted through exposure to moonlight, rather than through contact with infected individuals, emphasizes its nature as a form of divine judgment rather than a mere pathological condition. You cannot catch moonscorch from another person. You contract it by being seen by Rher, by falling under his cosmic gaze and being found wanting. The progression of moonscorch follows a predictable pattern that reveals Rher's understanding of human psychology and physiology. Initial symptoms include severe discolored burns, dry cracking skin, unnatural growths, and scarring. The body begins to warp and change, marking the individual as touched by cosmic forces beyond normal medical understanding. As the condition advances, victims experience more severe warping of their body, beginning with facial features being stretched and contorted. The face, being the primary seat of human identity and the primary means by which we recognize each other as individuals, is deliberately targeted by the transformation. This represents Rher's systematic stripping away of humanity, beginning with the features that most clearly mark someone as a person rather than a beast. The final stage involves an intolerable sensation of something crawling inside the victim's body before they fully transform into a moonscorched being. This internal corruption suggests that moonscorch operates from within as much as from without, that it reveals something that was already present rather than imposing something entirely external. These physical transformations are accompanied by equally dramatic psychological changes. Victims of moonscorch are driven to homicidal madness, attacking perceived outsiders on sight. However, they retain some aspects of their prior allegiances and memories, suggesting that the transformation is not a complete erasure of personality, but rather a radical alteration of priorities and behavior patterns. This retention of partial memory makes moonscorched beings particularly tragic figures. They are aware enough to suffer from their transformation, conscious enough to recognize what they have become, yet unable to resist their new violent impulses. They exist in a horrific middle state, no longer human, but not entirely bestial, trapped between identities with full awareness of their loss. The specific forms that moonscorched beings take reveal Rhea's role as a revealer of hidden truths about human nature. Rather than creating random monsters, Moonscorch transforms each individual into a form that reflects their deepest character, their suppressed desires, and their fundamental essence stripped of social conditioning. A doctor obsessed with healing becomes a creature that grotesquely parodies medical practice, perhaps using surgery as an excuse for mutilation. A soldier focused on duty and service transforms into a war machine that embodies the destructive potential of military thinking, taken to its logical extreme, becoming pure violence without the moderating influence of human compassion. These transformations serve as Rhea's argument about the ultimate nature of humanity. In his view, the civilized personas that humans present to the world are merely masks, concealing bestial, selfish, and destructive impulses. Moonscorch strips away these masks, revealing what he believes to be the authentic human character beneath layers of social conditioning and self-deception. The horrific nature of most moonscorched forms supports his contention that humans are fundamentally unworthy of divine status or cosmic authority. If exposure to cosmic truth transforms people into monsters, if revealing their true nature produces only violence and corruption, then how can they possibly be trusted with the vast power and responsibility that godhood entails? The timing of moonscorch outbreaks is closely connected to Rhea's emotional state and level of involvement in mortal affairs. During the Festival of Termina, the rate of transformation accelerates as Rhea's patience with the contestants decreases. When participants fail to eliminate each other quickly enough to satisfy his requirements, his growing impatience manifests as increased moonscorch infection rates and more rapid transformation times. This connection between divine emotion and physical reality demonstrates the extent of Rhea's power and his direct connection to cosmic forces. His feelings are not merely internal psychological states, but forces that reshape the physical world. When Rher becomes impatient or angry, that impatience manifests as accelerated corruption, as reality itself, warping to reflect his emotional state. The town of Prehevel during the Festival of Termina provides a comprehensive example of Moonscorch's societal effects. The entire population, including the occupying Bremen army, succumbs to the condition as punishment for their failure to properly complete the festival, or perhaps simply for being in the wrong place when Rhea's attention focused on the town. This mass transformation serves multiple purposes in Rhea's cosmic design. It eliminates potential witnesses to the cosmic events taking place, ensuring that knowledge of the festival's true nature remains limited. It demonstrates the consequences of failing to meet Rhea's expectations, serving as both punishment and warning. And it creates an environment where normal social structures and moral constraints no longer apply, forcing the remaining contestants to confront horror without the support of civilization. The gradual nature of most moonscorch transformations in Prehevel happening over hours or days contrasts sharply with the rapid transformations experienced by festival contestants who fail to eliminate each other promptly. This difference suggests that Rher calibrates the progression of the condition based on his specific objectives for different groups. The townspeople, who are not direct threats to cosmic order, are transformed slowly as part of a general punishment and environmental alteration. The contestants, who represent direct challenges to old god authority, are transformed rapidly when they fail to meet Rher's expectations for mutual elimination. This precision in applying Moonscorch demonstrates its nature as a tool rather than a simple cosmic curse. The irreversible nature of Moonscorch transformation reflects Rhea's finality as a cosmic judge. Unlike other forms of corruption or mental influence that might be healed or reversed through divine intervention or magical treatment, Moonscorch represents a permanent alteration of the victim's fundamental nature. This permanence serves as both punishment and warning. Those who transform into moonscorched beings can never return to their original forms, can never reclaim their humanity. This demonstrates that challenging cosmic order or falling under Rhea's negative attention carries consequences that cannot be undone through mortal effort or repentance. The resistance displayed by certain individuals to moonscorch infection provides insight into the qualities that Rher might respect or find useful. Characters like the woodsman and the mayor maintain their sanity despite prolonged exposure to lunar influence, suggesting that certain mental or spiritual qualities provide protection against Rher's transformative power. This resistance might reflect genuine spiritual strength, a fundamental alignment with cosmic hierarchy that Rher recognizes and respects, or simply a nature that already aligns with what Rher considers proper human behavior. Those who accept their subordinate position, who do not aspire to godhood, who recognize the supremacy of old gods, might be spared the worst effects of moonscorch because they are not threats to the cosmic order Rher seeks to preserve. The symbolic significance of moonscorch extends beyond its immediate effects on individual victims. The condition represents Rhe's ultimate argument about human nature and divine authority. By demonstrating that exposure to cosmic truth inevitably leads to madness and monstrosity, moonscorch supports his contention that humans are psychologically and spiritually unsuited for divine status. The condition serves as both punishment for cosmic presumption and evidence, supporting the maintenance of traditional divine hierarchy. Look at what happens when humans are exposed to cosmic reality. They transform into monsters. How then can they possibly be worthy of wielding cosmic power themselves? Perhaps most disturbingly, moonscorch appears to target not just the wicked or ambitious, but ordinary people whose only crime is existing in proximity to cosmic events, beyond their understanding or control. This indiscriminate nature of the condition reflects Rhe's view that all humans are potentially dangerous to cosmic order, regardless of their individual character or intentions. In his cosmic calculus, human potential itself is a threat that must be contained or eliminated. It does not matter if specific individuals seem harmless or virtuous. The capacity for ascension exists within humanity as a whole, and therefore all humans represent potential threats to the old order. Moonscorch becomes a tool for controlling this threat through fear and actual transformation of those who fall under cosmic attention. The visual and symbolic elements associated with Rher provide crucial insights into his nature and role within the fear and hunger universe. Unlike many deities in fiction who are represented through straightforward religious symbolism, Rher's iconography is deliberately complex and multi-layered, reflecting his dual nature as both truth revealer and madness bringer, cosmic authority and trickster figure. Rher's primary symbol consists of 3 circles with 2 positioned at top, and within the top right circle lies a horizontal omega symbol, adorned with a central dot. This geometric arrangement carries multiple layers of meaning within the context of fear and hunger mythology, each element contributing to our understanding of his cosmic nature and objectives. The 3 circles may represent different phases of the moon, reflecting Rhe's lunar nature and his cyclical influence over mortal affairs. Just as the moon waxes and wanes through its monthly cycle, Rhe's power and attention might flow through similar patterns, creating periods of intense cosmic pressure, alternating with relative calm. The positioning of 2 circles above the third might symbolize his elevated position relative to earthly concerns, his perspective from the celestial sphere looking down upon the mortal world. This geometric hierarchy mirrors the cosmic hierarchy he seeks to preserve, divine beings above, mortal beings below, with clear separation between the spheres. The omega symbol within the top circle is particularly significant. In many cultural contexts, omega traditionally represents endings or completion, the final letter of the Greek alphabet, symbolizing finality and ultimate conclusion. In Rher's case, this might refer to his role as an agent of cosmic finality, one who seeks to end the process of human ascension and return the universe to its proper state. The omega might represent his goal of bringing closure to what he sees as an aberrant period in cosmic history, the age when humans dared to challenge divine authority and achieve godhood. His mission is to end this era and restore the eternal, unchanging order that preceded it. The central dot within the omega could represent his all-seeing eye, his constant observation of human affairs from his lunar throne. This interpretation is supported by illustrations in Rher's Skin Bible, which suggests that the circle with the dot specifically represents an eye. The imagery connects Rher to themes of surveillance, judgment, and revelation. As the ever-watching God, Rher sees all that transpires in the mortal world, identifying threats and opportunities for intervention. The eye also represents his role as a revealer of hidden truths, one who sees through deceptions and facades to perceive the authentic nature beneath. Alternatively, the dot might symbolize the focused nature of his attention, the way he concentrates his cosmic awareness on specific threats to the old order rather than diffusing it across all of reality. This precision in cosmic surveillance allows him to identify and eliminate divine candidates before they can fully manifest their potential. The overlap between the three circles in Rher's symbol hints at the crescent phases of the moon, connecting his iconography directly to his lunar identity. This overlap might also represent the intersection of different realms of existence, the mortal world, the divine sphere, and the liminal space between them where Rher exercises much of his influence. The crescent symbolism reinforces themes of change, transformation, and the cyclical nature of cosmic events that characterize Rher's approach to divine intervention. His influence waxes and wanes like the moon itself, creating patterns that repeat across generations and centuries. The artistic representation of Rher himself draws heavily from various mythological and religious traditions. His battle artwork featuring two rings of eyes swirling around his form bears striking similarity to descriptions of the Ophanim, or thrones angels from Judeo-Christian tradition. These angels are described in biblical texts as wheels upon wheels or rings lined with eyes, representing divine omniscience and the all-encompassing nature of cosmic awareness. This visual reference connects Rher to broader traditions of divine imagery while emphasizing his role as an observer and judge of mortal affairs. The multiplication of eyes in this representation suggests not just enhanced vision, but fundamentally different modes of perception than those available to mortal beings. Where humans possess two eyes that provide limited perspective, Rher's cosmic consciousness operates through countless sensory inputs that allow him to perceive reality from multiple angles simultaneously. The lunar face that Rher presents when observing mortals has been compared to the falling moon from The Legend of Zelda, Majora's Mask, a comparison that is both apt and revealing. Both images evoke themes of inevitable doom, cosmic forces beyond mortal control, and the terrifying nature of being watched by an alien intelligence. This comparison emphasizes the alien, unsettling nature of Rher's attention. The moon should be a distant, beautiful celestial object, but when it gains a face, when it watches back, it becomes deeply disturbing. Rher's gaze transforms the familiar into the horrific, making the night sky itself a source of existential dread. Color symbolism plays an important role in Rher's iconographic system. The green hue associated with his origin realm represents otherworldliness, alien perspective, and the fundamental difference between old God and mortal perception. This green filtering effect suggests that Rher and his servants literally see the world differently than humans do. Operating according to altered visual and conceptual frameworks allows them to perceive truths hidden from normal awareness. The green tint that characterizes the old god's perception might represent cosmic truth that has been filtered through alien consciousness, transformed into something that mortal minds can barely comprehend. The association with darkness and shadow in Rher's imagery reflects both his lunar nature and his role as a revealer of hidden aspects of reality. Darkness traditionally represents the unknown, the feared, and the unconscious, all areas where Rher exercises particular influence. His ability to illuminate these dark spaces through moonlight represents his power to force awareness of uncomfortable truths, to make visible what individuals and societies prefer to keep hidden. Yet this illumination comes with a price, as exposure to lunar revelation often drives observers to madness. The recurring motif of masks in Rher's symbolic system, particularly evident in Pocketcat's iconography, and the themes explored in The Truth Under the Moonlight, represents the fundamental deception that Rher believes characterizes human existence. Humans wear masks to hide their true nature from others and from themselves, creating false identities that obscure their fundamental character. Rher's truth, revealing power, strips away these masks, forcing individuals to confront their authentic selves regardless of their comfort with what they discover. The mask imagery suggests that all human civilization is built on a foundation of deception and self-deception, that the social roles and identities people present are merely costumes hiding bestial nature. The symbolic connection between Rher and various forms of madness is represented through chaotic, swirling patterns and distorted imagery that characterizes moonscorched beings and other manifestations of his influence. These visual elements suggest the breakdown of normal perception and the intrusion of cosmic awareness into minds that are not equipped to process such information. The madness is not random or meaningless, but follows its own internal logic that reflects Rzu's alien perspective on reality. The swirling patterns might represent the way cosmic truth appears when filtered through human consciousness, distorted, fragmentary, and overwhelming in its complexity. Perhaps most significantly, Rher's iconography consistently emphasizes themes of duality and contradiction. He is simultaneously truth-teller and deceiver, revealer and concealer, helper and destroyer. This duality is reflected in visual elements that can be interpreted multiple ways depending on perspective and context. The three circles can be seen as moon phases or as hierarchical arrangement. The omega can represent endings or eternal cycles. The eyes can symbolize omniscience or oppressive surveillance. This symbolic ambiguity mirrors the complexity of Rher's character and his role in the larger narrative, suggesting that simple moral categories are inadequate for understanding cosmic beings and their motivations. The revelation that Rher, like his fellow old gods, has actually departed from the world adds a profound layer of tragedy and complexity to his story. This withdrawal represents not just a tactical retreat, but a fundamental acknowledgement that the cosmic order he sought to preserve has already been irreversibly altered. Understanding the implications of this departure requires examining both its immediate practical effects and its deeper significance for the ongoing conflict between old and new cosmic powers. The departure of the old gods appears to have been a collective decision rather than individual choices made in isolation. According to lore, beings like Grogoroth and Sylvian withdrew from active involvement in mortal affairs due to their disgust with humanity's selfishness and ambition toward usurping divine positions. They came to understand that humans would never love Sylvian the way she loved them, would never properly appreciate the purity and beauty of the ideas that the old gods represented. The old gods had created, nurtured, and guided humanity, yet received only ingratitude, betrayal, and the ultimate insult human attempts to claim divine status for themselves. This cosmic disillusionment led to a withdrawal that was as much emotional as physical. The old gods did not merely leave the world but turned away from it, abandoning their traditional roles as creators and overseers of mortal existence. They retreated into cosmic indifference or pursued their own alien interests, leaving humanity to its own devices. For Rher, this collective withdrawal presented a particular dilemma that his fellow old gods did not face. While Grogoroth and Sylvian could retreat from mortal affairs with their essential natures intact, Rher's very identity was bound up in his role as guardian of cosmic hierarchy and opponent of human ascension. His jealous nature, his cosmic mission, his fundamental purpose, all required continued engagement with humanity. The eternal watch he maintained was not just a duty he could abandon, but the core of who he was as a cosmic entity. To withdraw completely would mean surrendering his identity, admitting that everything he had fought for across millennia was ultimately futile. Yet withdraw he did, demonstrating that even cosmic obsession has its limits, that even eternal vigilance must eventually end. His departure represents not just strategic retreat, but fundamental failure of his cosmic mission. By leaving the world, he effectively acknowledges that his cause has become hopeless, that the old order he sought to preserve is beyond salvation. The traces that Rher left behind serve as both practical tools and symbolic representations of his continued influence despite physical absence. These traces retain enough of his power to continue affecting mortal affairs, creating moonscorch, influencing events, and serving as focal points for his remaining servants. However, they lack the full consciousness and adaptive intelligence of the complete deity. The traces operate according to programming or patterns established by Rher before his departure, but they cannot respond creatively to new situations or modify their approaches based on changing circumstances. This makes them simultaneously powerful and powerful because they retain access to genuine cosmic forces, vulnerable because they lack the intelligence to adapt when circumstances change or enemies develop counter-strategies. The exploitation of Rher's traces by Kelly and the Sulfur God demonstrates the dangers inherent in divine withdrawal. By abandoning direct control over his cosmic assets, Rher created opportunities for other entities to appropriate his power and reputation for their own purposes. The Festival of Termina, which should have served Rher's anti-ascension agenda, instead becomes a tool for advancing the Sulfur God's mysterious objectives. This represents a form of cosmic identity theft with profound implications for understanding divine power and its limitations. If a god's power can be hijacked after their departure, if their servants and methods can be turned to serve opposing purposes, then divine authority is far more conditional and vulnerable than traditional mythology suggests. The traces of departed gods become cosmic resources that can be claimed and used by any entity clever enough to manipulate them. The psychological impact of the old gods' withdrawal on mortal populations cannot be understated. For countless generations, humans had lived under the direct influence and occasional intervention of primordial cosmic powers. These entities shaped reality, answered prayers, or ignored them, and provided a sense that the universe operated according to divine plan and purpose. Their sudden absence creates a spiritual vacuum that various forces rush to fill. New gods, ascended beings, and entities like the Sulfur God all compete to establish themselves as the new cosmic authorities, leading to increased instability and uncertainty in divine matters. Humanity finds itself orphaned by the old gods, forced to navigate cosmic politics without the overwhelming presence of primordial authorities that had previously defined the boundaries of possible action. The timing of the old gods' departure, occurring sometime before the events of Fear and Hunger 2, Termina suggests that the cosmic order underwent a fundamental transformation during the period between the two games. This transition represents a kind of cosmic adolescence for humanity, a period where mortals must learn to navigate divine politics without the overwhelming presence of primordial authorities. The increased prominence of new gods and ascended beings during this period reflects humanity's growing cosmic sophistication and independence. Without the old gods to suppress their ambitions or eliminate their champions, humans have more freedom to pursue divine ascension and experiment with different forms of cosmic authority. Rher's withdrawal also reveals the limitations of cosmic consciousness and divine omniscience. Despite his reputation as an all-seeing observer and master manipulator, he apparently failed to foresee or prevent the exploitation of his traces by hostile forces. This failure suggests that even cosmic entities operate with incomplete information and can be surprised by sufficiently clever opponents. The cosmic realm appears to be far more politically complex and unpredictable than divine mythology typically suggests. Gods are not omniscient. Their plans can fail, their servants can be corrupted, and their power can be stolen or subverted. This vulnerability makes them more relatable in some ways, but also more terrifying. If even gods can be outmaneuvered and defeated, what hope do mortals have of understanding or controlling cosmic forces? The question of whether Rher's departure represents genuine defeat or merely tactical repositioning remains open to interpretation. Some interpretations of the lore suggest that the apparent failure of his plans might actually be part of a larger stratagem that mortals and even other gods cannot comprehend. Given his reputation as a trickster and master manipulator, it is possible that even his withdrawal serves purposes that are not immediately apparent to observers. Perhaps he has recognized that direct intervention was counterproductive, that his presence actually inspired resistance and strengthened human resolve. Perhaps withdrawal represents a more sophisticated form of manipulation, removing his obvious influence so that humans become complacent, believing themselves free of cosmic oversight. This ambiguity maintains the sense of cosmic uncertainty that characterizes the Fear and Hunger universe. We can never be entirely sure whether Rher has truly given up, or whether we are all still pieces in a game whose rules and objectives we cannot fully comprehend. This uncertainty itself serves his purposes, creating doubt and paranoia that discourage cosmic ambition. The continued influence of Rher's traces suggests that divine withdrawal is not as complete or final as it might initially appear. These remnants of cosmic power continue to affect mortal affairs, creating moonscorch, influencing behavior, and serving as conduits for otherworldly forces. This persistence indicates that cosmic entities may not be capable of complete withdrawal from reality. They leave behind indelible marks that continue to shape events long after their conscious influence has ended. Like radiation that persists long after the source has been removed, cosmic influence continues to corrupt and transform even in the absence of active divine attention. The emergence of new cosmic players during the period following the old gods' withdrawal demonstrates the dynamic nature of divine hierarchy. The Sulfur God's ability to manipulate Rher's traces and appropriate his festivals suggests that cosmic power is more fluid and transferable than traditional divine mythology suggests. This fluidity creates opportunities for ambitious entities to expand their influence, while also creating vulnerabilities that can be exploited by clever opponents. The cosmic order is not static but constantly evolving, with new powers rising as old ones decline. This evolution might be precisely what Rher sought to prevent. A universe where divine status is achieved rather than inherent, where cosmic authority changes hands based on capability and cunning rather than primordial right. The withdrawal of the old gods also raises profound questions about the ultimate fate of cosmic entities and the possibility of divine mortality or transformation. If beings who were once considered eternal and unchanging can withdraw from reality, this suggests that even cosmic consciousness may be subject to forms of evolution, decay, or voluntary transformation that challenge traditional assumptions about divine permanence. The old god's departure might represent not just tactical retreat, but fundamental changes in their nature and capabilities. Perhaps maintaining presence in the mortal realm required resources or effort that they were no longer willing to expend. Perhaps exposure to human consciousness corrupted or altered them in ways that made continued involvement undesirable or even impossible. Perhaps most significantly, the withdrawal of the old gods, including Rher, creates space for humanity to develop its own cosmic consciousness and divine capabilities without constant interference from primordial authorities. This represents both opportunity and danger, as humans must learn to navigate cosmic realities without the guidance, however malevolent, that old god presence provided. The results of this cosmic independence remain to be seen, but they will likely determine the future trajectory of divine evolution in the Fear and Hunger universe. Will humanity prove capable of wielding cosmic power responsibly, validating the new god's faith in human potential? Or will they demonstrate the corruption and destructiveness that Rher always claimed was their essential nature, proving his warnings correct even in his absence? The tragic irony of Rher's withdrawal is that by leaving, he may have enabled exactly what he spent millennia trying to prevent. Without his active opposition, human ascension becomes easier. Without his servants eliminating divine candidates, more humans achieve godhood. Without his festivals culling potential threats, humanity's cosmic power grows unchecked. His departure, intended as an admission of defeat, might actually represent his greatest failure abandoning his post at the precise moment when his vigilance was most needed. Or perhaps, in his alien cosmic wisdom, he recognized that his continued presence was counterproductive, that the struggle itself was strengthening humanity rather than weakening it. In the end, the withdrawal of the old gods represents a fundamental shift in cosmic power dynamics, the end of an age where primordial entities shaped reality according to their will, and the beginning of an uncertain era where humanity must forge its own destiny without divine oversight. Whether this new age represents liberation or catastrophe remains an open question. As we reach the end of our comprehensive exploration of Rher, the Trickster Moon God, we find ourselves confronting the same cosmic questions that have driven this ancient entity for countless millennia. What is the proper relationship between mortal and divine consciousness? Who has the right to wield cosmic power? Can traditional hierarchies adapt to changing realities, or must they be replaced entirely? These questions remain as relevant and unanswered as they were at the dawn of cosmic civilization. Rher's story represents more than the tale of a single cosmic entity. It embodies the eternal tension between order and change, tradition and innovation, authority and freedom that characterizes all conscious existence. His jealous opposition to human ascension reflects genuine concerns about cosmic stability and the preservation of proven systems, even as his methods demonstrate the cruelty and injustice that can result from rigid adherence to hierarchical authority. The complexity of Rher's character defies simple moral categorization. He is simultaneously cosmic tyrant and cosmic guardian, destroyer of human potential and preserver of universal order, revealer of truth and master of deception. This complexity reflects the sophisticated storytelling of the Fear and Hunger series, which refuses to provide easy answers to difficult questions about power, authority, and moral responsibility. The game's present cosmic conflicts where neither side is entirely right or wrong, where genuine philosophical positions clash without clear resolution. The ultimate failure of Rher's cosmic mission, despite his vast power and sophisticated methods, demonstrates that even cosmic entities are subject to forces beyond their control. The tide of cosmic evolution, the natural development of consciousness, and the inexorable pressure of change ultimately prove stronger than any individual entity's ability to preserve static conditions. This lesson applies not only to cosmic conflicts but to all situations where established authorities attempt to prevent natural development and growth. Conservative forces, no matter how powerful, cannot permanently hold back the forces of change and evolution. They can delay, they can resist, they can make the struggle costly and painful, but they cannot achieve permanent victory against the fundamental dynamism of existence. Yet Rher's legacy extends far beyond his immediate failures and successes. His influence on human consciousness, his contributions to cosmic knowledge, and his role in forcing humanity to develop greater sophistication and resilience all represent outcomes that emerged from his apparently negative interventions. The adversity he created ultimately strengthened those who survived it, contributing to human cosmic evolution in ways that benevolent guidance might not have achieved. Sometimes opposition and struggle produce growth that comfort and support cannot. Sometimes the greatest gifts come wrapped in the most terrifying packages. The Fear and Hunger series uses Rher's story to explore fundamental questions about the nature of consciousness, the proper use of power, and the responsibilities that come with cosmic awareness. These themes resonate beyond the boundaries of gaming to address real-world concerns about authority, justice, and the relationship between individual welfare and collective good. The series suggests that these questions have no easy answers, that they must be continuously addressed through ongoing dialogue, resistance to tyranny, and commitment to moral growth. There is no final solution to the tension between order and freedom, no permanent resolution to conflicts between different visions of how reality should be organized. The incomplete nature of Rher's story, with many questions left unanswered and many cosmic mysteries unexplored, reflects the ongoing nature of these fundamental conflicts. Cosmic evolution continues, new divine entities emerge, and humanity's relationship with cosmic forces continues to develop in unexpected directions. Rher's chapter in this larger story may be concluding as he withdraws from active involvement, but the cosmic questions he embodied remain as pressing as ever. The struggle between old and new, between established authority and emerging power, between cosmic conservatism and evolutionary change, these conflicts will continue long after Rher himself has faded into cosmic memory. The technical and artistic achievement, represented by the Fear and Hunger series, particularly in its creation of characters like Rher, demonstrates the potential for video games to address profound philosophical and moral questions through interactive storytelling. The medium's unique ability to place players in the position of cosmic agents, forced to make difficult moral choices under extreme pressure, provides insights into these questions that purely passive forms of entertainment cannot achieve. By allowing players to experience the Festival of Termina, to face Moonscorch, to encounter Rher's servants, and navigate his cosmic traps, the games create understanding that transcends intellectual knowledge. Players don't just learn about cosmic horror and divine tyranny, they experience it, feel it, struggle against it. This experiential dimension makes the philosophical content more visceral and memorable than abstract discussion could ever be. For those who have journeyed with us through this comprehensive exploration of Rher's lore, the experience serves as both entertainment and education. We've spent hours examining his nature, methods, servants, and impact, diving deep into the cosmic mythology of fear and hunger to understand one of gaming's most complex and disturbing divine entities. This deep engagement provides more than just information about fictional lore. It offers opportunities for reflection on real questions about power, authority, change, and resistance. How do we respond to systems that seem unjust but claim cosmic legitimacy? How do we balance respect for tradition with recognition that change is sometimes necessary? How do we develop the strength to resist tyranny while avoiding the corruption that power itself can bring? The Fear and Hunger series reminds us that the best gaming experiences offer more than simple diversion or entertainment. They provide opportunities for growth, reflection, and deeper understanding of ourselves and our universe. They challenge us to think, to question, to examine our assumptions about how reality should be organized and who deserves to wield authority. As we conclude this epic journey through the cosmic mythology of fear and hunger, we're reminded that great stories never truly end but continue to evolve through the minds and imaginations of those who engage with them. Rhe's story will continue to inspire discussion, analysis, and creative interpretation for years to come, just as the best mythological figures have done throughout human history. The lasting impact of exploring characters like Rher lies not in the specific details of their fictional exploits, but in the way they illuminate universal truths about power, responsibility, and the eternal struggle between competing visions of how reality should be ordered. These are the stories that define us as conscious beings, that help us navigate the complex moral and philosophical challenges that characterize existence at any level of cosmic sophistication. Rher represents something fundamental in human psychology and cosmic reality: the resistance of the old to the new, the fear that change will bring loss rather than growth, the desperate attempt to preserve what was good about the past while preventing an uncertain future. His jealousy is not merely personal resentment but cosmic conservatism, elevated to divine principle. And yet, his story also demonstrates the futility of absolute resistance to change. The universe evolves whether we approve or not. Consciousness develops new forms and capabilities regardless of divine opposition. The old order gives way to new arrangements of power and authority, not because they are necessarily better, but because change itself is the only cosmic constant. Perhaps Rher's greatest tragedy is not that he failed in his mission, but that success was never truly possible. He was fighting against the fundamental nature of existence itself, the tendency toward increasing complexity, the evolution of consciousness toward greater capability, the natural development that characterizes all living systems. His jealous watch, his elaborate schemes, his servants and festivals and moonscorch, all of these were attempts to hold back a tide that could be delayed but never permanently stopped. And yet he persisted, driven by a cosmic conviction so deep that abandoning it would mean abandoning his very identity. In this way, Rher becomes a tragic rather than simply villainous figure. He is trapped by his own nature, compelled to fight battles he cannot win, dedicated to preserving an order that is already crumbling. His story evokes something beyond simple condemnation, a recognition of the tragedy inherent in all resistance to inevitable change. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into one of gaming's most fascinating and complex mythological figures. If you enjoyed this comprehensive exploration of Rher, the Trickster Moon God, please like this video and subscribe for more in-depth examinations of gaming's greatest stories and darkest mythologies. The world of fear and hunger holds many more secrets waiting to be uncovered, many more cosmic entities to explore, and many more layers of meaning to discover. Together, we'll continue to examine these dark fantasies, to understand the complex cosmologies that make these games so compelling, and to appreciate the sophisticated storytelling that elevates gaming to genuine art. Until next time, keep exploring those epic tales, fellow adventurers. Remember that the most profound truths are often found in the darkest corners of our favorite fictional universes, and that sometimes the monsters in our games have something important to teach us about the nature of reality, consciousness, and the eternal struggle between order and change that defines all existence. Sleep well, and may your dreams be free from moonlight.